Imagine carrying a child for 9 months and then you give it away because that child is legally not yours. I'm not talking about adoption, but I'm actually talking about surrogacy. So, surrogacy is a beautiful thing because it gives people who would otherwise not be able to be parents the opportunity to nurture, to love, and to have a family of their own. And that is a very beautiful experience, and it's also the kind of experience that money cannot buy. I get this. And I do think that it takes a very brave person to give away a part of themselves. So with surrogacy, sometimes the person gives away their egg and they also become a host. And the reason I'm saying a host is because essentially that child is technically not yours, even though the egg is yours and you might be the one carrying the child, but you have given the child away, so it's not your child. Now, it is a growing thing amongst people who can afford it. So privilege does play a huge role in it, because if you cannot afford it, there's no way you can really get into the whole surrogacy thing. And the people who choose to be surrogate mothers, they do it for different reasons, But it's always hard because I find it impossible that you wouldn't bond with the child. To a certain degree, you will actually form some sort of bond with the child because the child is growing inside of you. So they're part of you. You carry this child for 9 months. And if you've ever been pregnant, you know that regardless of what happens, you do form a bond with the child that you are carrying. Now, I cannot imagine what it's like to carry a child and then to just send the child away, because that's what essentially you signed up for. And funny enough, I always hear conversation about how beautiful of a gift it is. Yes, truly, it is a beautiful gift. But I have never heard anyone talking about the spiritual implications of it. More so with us Black people from the African diaspora. I mean, we are heavily rooted in culture and spirituality. So you find people searching for their biological parents, If they were not raised by their parents, they search for their biological parents because this is a way of getting in touch with your identity and also finding yourself. So surrogacy becomes quite problematic because you are not supposed to have any connection with the person who birthed you, And I feel that that's why a lot of people actually are very scared of it, because we know how heavy spirituality is. We know how problematic it is to try and find a piece of yourself. So what if you are a child born through surrogacy and you find yourself later on in life, you're looking for your mother, and you find that you are on your own in that journey. How do you go about, connecting with that part of yourself? And bear in mind the fact that your mother, you were sort of a gift. Let me put it that way. You were a gift to the family that raised you. So your mother could possibly have moved on with her life, and she may possibly have not told her family members about the whole experience, and then how does it work? Like how do you get to a point where they would accept you? Because now you are a person that was not supposed to come back, right? You were a person that is supposed to belong to that family, but then now, because you are black, and there are certain things that we go through that I don't know if other cultures necessarily go through, and you have to find a piece of yourself. You have to know who you are. Hlampe kube khona into ezokuphoqa ukuthi uye komalume. Like, how do you go about that? And it's funny how there could be talks about surrogacy, but nobody ever really talks about the spiritual part of it. Like, how will it work, spiritually speaking? And there's also another element that I can add onto it. If the person who chose to give away the egg and are also a host, the person who is actually going to carry the child, if that person is married, because as bizarre as this is, there are, well, maybe few cases, but there are people who are married who choose to go the surrogacy route, meaning that they become surrogate mothers and they sort of carry the child. The child does not belong to their husband, and eventually when they give birth, they have to, also let go of the child as well. And it just made me think, when it comes to abantu abamnyama, ngekuthiwa inkomo ezalelwe esibayeni sakho iye yakho, meaning that even if, I know this is totally different to the example that I'm going to make right now, even if your wife were to cheat on you and she produces a child with another man, for the fact that you are married, spiritually and legally, the child that she produces, even though you are not the biological father, that child belongs to you, meaning that uzothatha isibongo sakho, uzobe ewala ekhaya, even though people might refer to the child as Ivesandlebe, but the point is uyiwala ekhaya lowo muntu. So now I see couples, also choosing to go through the surrogacy route, where the wife would carry a child that is not her husband's. And then I think of, if this can be, if a person cheats and they produce a child and then leyo ngane kuthiwa iyala eshadele khona, then how, I know that they spoke about the carrying of the baby, but then how is it different? Ngoba, for the fact that lo muntu ushadile, uma ethwele ingane yenye indoda, does that not make ingane partly eyaglumuzi lo ashadele kuwona? I'm just curious. And I know that it's probably something you never thought about, but it just makes me wonder, then how do we go about it? Because as I said, ezinye izinto are very different when it comes to us as abantu abamnyama. So I'm thinking of, now people are going through this whole surrogacy thing, but are we ready to really talk about the spiritual things that could go wrong with it? And maybe I'm talking from a place of selfishness because I have not gone through that experience, but I just can't help wondering in future if angeke zibe khona na iy'ngane ezobe zifuna ukuzazi ukuthi ziyobani. Angeke zibe khona na iy'ngane ezobe zifuna ukwazi indabuko yazo. Yebo leyo nto. And depending on what a person is going through, sometimes umtshela ukuthi you are a product of surrogacy, it won't be enough ngoba uzobe ebhekene nale nkinga abhekene nayo. So are we also going to go through, this thing just because in other countries it's popular, and in other countries into abayenzayo now, I know ukuthi iyenziwa nala eMzansi, but are we really ready to talk about some of the things that could potentially go wrong? And angisho lento le because ngifuna ukuthi mhlambe ngithi abantu bengayenzi. No, angisho ukuthi abantu bengayenzi. I understand why people need it. I understand why ibalulekile kwabanye abantu, but I just wonder ukuthi yiziphi inkinga nezimo zomoya ezoba khona ngenxa ye-surrogacy. I'm just curious, maybe the people who do go through it, they mhlambe abakholelwa, which is also fine, and I just wonder ukuthi the more people do it, what other problems are we going to face? Iziphi inkinga iy'ngane zethu ezizobhekana nazo in future because of this whole thing. But I do understand how this is the most precious gift you could ever get in your life. It is beautiful. It is, one of a kind, because it is not easy to give away, or to give away your egg, or to even to carry a child, be a host for a child, only to give it up, So, yeah, I just wonder. Let me know what you think. Yeah. Kodwa-ke angeke ngiyigoqe la namhlanje, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.